بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد بسم الله اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم واسكنهم بجوار محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصي نامه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخر ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك وإن لم تفعل فما بلغت رسالته والله يحسمك من الناس إن الله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Eid Mubarak to all of you. Eid al-Ghadir, which is also known as Eid al-Akbar for the Shias. And why is this Eid known as Eid al-Akbar? Eid al-Fitr does not have that title. Eid al-Adha does not have that title. But Eid al-Ghadir has that title as Eid al-Akbar. And who gave it this title? It wasn't me, it wasn't any alim, no. It was Sadiq ala Muhammad who gave this title to Eid al-Ghadir. It was Imam Raza alayhi salam who gave this title to Eid al-Ghadir, where he called this Eid Eid al-Akbar. Why was it that he called this Eid Eid al-Akbar? It's not because of this verse. It's the verse that was revealed after these verses of the Quran were revealed to the Holy Prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after revealing these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? Al-yawm akmaltu lakum dinakum. It's on this day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has perfected your religion. Perfected, not completed. No, perfected your religion. And what has He done? At the end, the verse says what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen Islam for you. When was Islam chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the religion or the path of life for all of human beings to take? It was the day of Ghadir. When the verses for Salat were revealed, the Holy Prophet does not tell the people in Medina, in some narrations when it comes to the commandments of Salat, some narrations they state that it was wajib or Salat became wajib during the last year of the Holy Prophet's years in Mecca or in the beginning years of his life in Medina. Or when it came to Siyam, when it came to fasting, all the Mufassirin, they say that fasting became wajib where? In Medina, correct? When it came to the orders of Salat, of praying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Holy Prophet does not tell the people in Medina or Mecca for everyone to come out of the house because he has something important to tell them. When it comes to Siyam and fasting, the Holy Prophet does not tell the people of Mecca or does not tell the people of Medina to come out of the house because he has an important message to give them. No. This message that the Holy Prophet gives, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. O my messenger, proclaim what has been sent down to you, what has already been sent down to you, what has already been revealed to you. When these verses were revealed to the Holy Prophet, 100, some narrations 100,000 Hajis, other narrations 120,000 Hajis. This verse of the Quran is being revealed where? In a place called Ghadir Khum. And what is Ghadir Khum? It's an area where all the Hajis, they end up meeting to go to their different places, to go to the different cities that they come from. Meaning that the people that are coming from Sham, they'll end up coming there and then going to Sham from there. The people that are coming from Yemen, they'll end up there and then go to Yemen from there. So this was basically a gathering place for all of the people to come to before they all went their separate ways. It was at this place that the Holy Prophet, because this verse of the Quran was revealed, the Holy Prophet tells everyone, anyone that is lagging behind, tell them to hurry up. Anyone that has gone ahead, tell them to come back. The Holy Prophet, never before this incident has the Holy Prophet said anything like this, where he told even the people to come out of their houses because he has a very important message to say. What is so important about this message that's supposed to be given in Ghadir, where the Holy Prophet says, everyone that has gone forward, come back. Everyone that is in the back, tell them to hurry up. What is so important? And not just that, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to the Holy Prophet. Ya ayyuha Rasul, O my messenger. If you read the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never spoken to the Holy Prophet in this tone. He's never said, O my messenger, to the Holy Prophet. Whenever he spoke to the Holy Prophet, whenever he referred to the Holy Prophet, he would refer to him with what? Yasin. He would refer to him with what? Taha. He would refer to him how? Ya ayyuhal mudaththir. Ya ayyuhan muzammil. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would continuously refer to the Holy Prophet. Never once has he said, Ya ayyuha Rasul, to the Holy Prophet. When he spoke about other prophets, for example, Ya Yahya, khuz al-kitab. O Yahya, hold on to the book. When he spoke about Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he uses his name. But whenever he spoke about the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever he spoke about the last prophet, he would use titles. He would always use titles. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also used the title, but it's not Yasin. It's not Taha. What is it? Ya ayyuha Rasul. He's used the title of Rasul. What is the job of a Rasul? Rasul in English, it gets translated into messenger. So a job of a messenger is to relay messages between two individuals. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used the job title of the Holy Prophet tells you what? That this message is very important. It's very important. Or else before this, when it came to the verses for Salat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not refer to the Holy Prophet like this. Salat, we pray 5 times a day. One of the arkan of Islam, yes? Siyam, arkan of Islam. Hajj, rukun of Islam. But for any of these arkan, for any of these rukuns, for any of these pillars, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't speak to the Holy Prophet like this. He spoke to the Holy Prophet only in regards to the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen in this tone. Why? Because it tells you how important this wilayat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Why? Because he wants the whole world to know how important this wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib is. And the verse, it goes on to say what? Ya ayyuha Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. Proclaim what has been revealed to you from your Lord. Balligh. Not say. In Arabic, qul means to what? Qul means say. Qul means say. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. There's a difference between qul and balligh. There's a difference between saying something and proclaiming something. Even in English, there's a difference. When you want to say something, you could either say it out loud if you want, or you could say it in what? A low voice. Correct? Meaning what? Salat. Fajr, it's wajib for men to say it out loud. Correct? Zuhr, it's wajib for them to say it in a low voice. Asr, low voice. So when it comes to the word say, it doesn't matter if you say it out loud or it doesn't matter if you say it in a low voice. That doesn't matter. But when it comes to balligh, that does matter. Balligh, it means proclaim. It means proclamation. In English, the definition of proclamation itself, it means to say it so everyone can hear. Say it so everyone can hear. Means what? Meaning that when we say Qul huwallahu ahad, say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not care if we say it in a loud voice or if we say it in a low voice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't care. But when it comes to the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used the word balligh. That means that He does care. He wants everyone to proclaim the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And the only way to proclaim it is how? By definition, it means that everyone needs to hear it. So how do you and I proclaim the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen today? Do you all know? When we say in our adhan, Ashhadu anna aliyun waliullah, that is a proclamation to the whole world that we are those people that believe in the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. That's how you proclaim it. The verse, it goes on to say what? وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتُهُ. If you do not do this, then you have not done anything for messengership. Then you have not done anything for messengership. The Holy Prophet, it's our aqidah that he was a messenger from when? From the time he came to this world until the time he left this world. Correct? It's all of Islam's aqidah that the Holy Prophet started proclaiming Islam at the age of 40. Correct? At the age of 40, the Holy Prophet openly proclaimed and started teaching about Islam. But before then, it was only wajib for him to, or it was only necessary for him to say it to or tell the people that are his family members. But the Muslims agree. By the age of 40, the Holy Prophet, it was told to the Holy Prophet to talk about Islam openly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying now what? That if you do not proclaim this message, then you have not done anything for messengership. You have not done anything for messengership. What is the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends prophets? What is the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends messengers? The first and foremost reason, or the first and foremost reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends messengers and prophets is why? It's so they can teach the people about Tawheed. So the world can know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the first and foremost reason. Aqeedah, to straighten people's aqeedah. Secondly, is to teach people how to do the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the two main reasons that messengers are sent. How to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aqeedah and amal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying what? Oh my messenger, if you do not proclaim this message, then you have not done anything for messengership. Meaning what? The tawheed that you were supposed to tell people about, it's as if you've not done anything about it. The salat that you were supposed to tell people about, it's as if you've not done that. The siyam, it's as if you've not done that. The hajj, it's as if you haven't done that. Look at how much emphasis Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing or putting on the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Where He's telling the Holy Prophet that if you don't do this, you who happen to be the greatest of my messengers, if you don't do this, then the salat, the prayers that you do, it's as if you haven't done them. You, the hajj that you just came back from, it's as if you haven't done it. The siyam, it's as if you haven't done it. Only and only if you do not proclaim this wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Islam. And this is to who? The Holy Prophet. What do you think about those individuals that do not accept the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam? What would happen to them? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is threatening the greatest or His greatest messenger by saying that your amal will not be accepted if you don't do this, what will happen to those people that rejected the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Rejected. And I say rejected, why? Because in order for them to reject it, that means that it was put in front of them. It was put in front. This water, if no one offers me this water, I can't reject it. The only time I can reject this water if someone offers it to me, if someone puts it in front of me, correct? That means what? That means that the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib, it was offered. And on the day of Ghadir Qum, it was certainly offered. People even did bayat on Amir al-Mu'mineen's hands. Yet they still rejected. They still rejected. But the most important point, or one of the most important points to understand in the tafsir of this verse is the last part of this verse. The last part of this verse, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? Surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the kafirin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the kafirin. This verse was revealed where? Ghadir Qum. This verse was revealed to whom? To the Holy Prophet regarding Amir al-Mu'mineen. But where is the Holy Prophet? Where is he coming from? He's coming back from Hajj. Correct? All the people that are with the Holy Prophet are Hajis. Yes? If they're Hajis, then they must be Muslims. Because Hajj is wajib only and only for Muslims. The people that are gathered in front of the Holy Prophet on this day are all Muslims. Are all Muslims. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of this verse says that Allah does not guide the kafirin. He doesn't guide the kafirin. Ya Allah, the people that are gathered with the Holy Prophet, they're all Muslims. They've all just come back from Hajj. They've all just come back from Hajj. Aren't they all Muslim? If they were all Muslim, Allah would not have said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the kafirin. And this is a statement. And this statement, Imam Raza alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Imam Mahmud Baqir alayhi salam, in the time of Imam Mahmud Baqir alayhi salam, in the time of Hajj, one of his companions, he goes, Mawla, look at all these Hajis, mashallah. Look at all these Hajis. Imam, he looked at him and he says, what do you think about them? He goes, mashallah, there's so many. Imam, he goes, do you think they're all humans? Do you think they're all Muslims? He goes, Mawla, what do you mean? Imam, all he does is he puts his hand over his companion's eyes. That's when his eyes open up. When his eyes open up, this companion, he sees that the people that are going around the Kaaba, some of them, they have the faces of pigs. Some of them, they have the faces of monkeys. Some of them, they have the faces of wolves. Some of them, they have the faces of coyotes. And he goes, Mawla, what is this? What am I looking at? He goes, you're looking at the Hajis. You're looking at the Hajis. What you have to remember, when some people read narrations like this, they go, well, how is this possible? You have to remember that all of us, we have this zahiri appearance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given all of us. But we have this batini appearance that is hidden within us. And that appearance will come forward. That appearance will be zahir where? Yawm al-Qiyamah. That appearance will be zahir. There's so many narrations that say that on the Day of Judgment, some people, they'll look like monkeys. Some people will have the faces of wolves. Some people will have the faces of pigs. Why? Because of the amal that they did. Because of their amal. Imam al-Baqir, he's showing his companion what every individual will see where? In the afterlife. In the afterlife. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying what? That He does not guide the kafirin. Who are the kafirin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about here? The kafirin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about are those individuals that rejected the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam. Not those individuals that did not know about the wilayat, no. Those individuals that rejected the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Those are the kafirin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. When it comes to kufr, you have to remember that some people think that kufr, there's only kufr bizat, meaning kufr in the zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. When it comes to kufr, the ulama, they say there's kufr bizat, there's kufr bil af'al. Meaning what? In regards to the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's also kufr bil what? When it comes to obeying the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This kufr, this kafir, here is regarding what? Not the zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not in regards to the zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's in regards to obeying the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is that considered to be kufr? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says this, he gives a very beautiful answer. He says, look, all the people that accepted the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen on the day of Ghadir, they're just like those angels that did sajda to Adam alayhi salam. They're just like those angels that did sajda to Adam alayhi salam. And all the people that rejected the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen are like shaitan who rejected the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was happening over there? That was an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning what? To do sajda in front of Adam. That was an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When shaitan, he says, no, I don't want to do sajda in front of Adam. What did he do? He took his opinion and he brought it to the same level as the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he did that, that was kufr bil what? Ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was kufr in regards to the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the same thing here. That's what Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is saying. Those people, if their opinion tells them, no, we're not going to believe in the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already come down. That it's wajib to believe in the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. That hukum is there. Now if I say, no, I don't want to believe in that, what have I done? I've taken my opinion to the level of the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's when this becomes what? Kafirin. That's when this becomes kufr. When my opinions, I've taken them to the same level as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's opinions. And sometimes we do this without even knowing. We do this without even knowing. Meaning what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a command. And let's use siyam, fasting for an example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a command that if you're on a journey, what should you do? Break your fast. Correct? If you're on a journey less than 10 days, if you go out of California, let's say, 3 days, it's a month of Ramadan. What's the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? To break your fast. You don't fast those 3 days. Until when? Until you get to your destination. If you're there for more than 10 days or more, then you continue your fast. If you're not there for more than 10 days, then the amount of time that you're there, you're not allowed to fast. That is the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But nowadays, we have our own opinion. Meaning what? You know, we travel in a car now. Everything's so easy. It doesn't even take that long. You know, at that time, they were riding on horses. So it took them a while. It took them 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, fine. But today, we travel by plane, we travel by car, we travel by bus. It takes us maybe 2 hours to get to where we need to get to. So why should we have to break our fast? This is my opinion. I brought it where? To the level of the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, if you're traveling, that's it. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not know 1400 years ago that we would have airplanes now? Did he not know 1400 years ago that we'd have cars? No, he did know. He did know. So why did he give that command? Does everyone have airplanes? Does everyone have cars that they drive? No, they don't. Can everyone travel by plane? No, they can't. No, they can't. But what does everyone, just about everyone, 99.9% of humanity have? Their legs. Their legs, correct? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at the richest of the rich. No. He looks at what? He'll look at the poor in the community and see that, hey, will they be able to do this? The only one hukum that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left for the rich is which one? Of Hajj. That's it. Hajj is only wajib for who? Those people that have the means. Meaning what? Meaning that when they are doing Hajj, they have the means to support their family when they have left them behind. And they have the means to support themselves in the time of Hajj. Those people that have that means. Meaning what? That you have to be somewhat affluent. You have to be somewhat rich to go on Hajj. Especially this year. I hear almost $14,000 for Hajj. $14,000 for Hajj. Look at, there's a reason, for example, Sayyid Sistani, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect him and give him long life. There's a reason he said that, look, after your one wajib Hajj, just keep going for ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. After your one wajib Hajj, just keep going for ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. And some people, they find this offensive. That's the Bayt of Allah subhanahu, that's the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Yes, Imam, they find this phrase offensive. Why is that offensive? $14,000 for what? Whereas Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, how much does it cost? Think about that. Think about it. Your ticket, that's it. For $14,000 for this year, you can take at least 10 other mu'mineen that have never gone for ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam to meet Imam Hussein. After your one wajib Hajj, use the money for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Why? There's more reasons to this. One of the other reasons, we have so many narrations that state that the money that gets used for the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not ask about where that money was spent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not ask how that money was spent. No, He doesn't ask about that. The time that it takes for you to go for ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the narrations state that that time, it takes you 1 day, it takes you 2 days. The narrations state that that time does not get counted in your life. That means what? That means that your life basically stops for that amount of time, as long as you're doing the ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You don't have any narrations like this when it comes to Baytullah. There are no narrations like this. And there's some political reasons as to why Sayyid said the same thing. There's some political reasons. Inshallah, some other time we'll go over that. But the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. The house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is where I'll end this lecture with, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Abu al-Fazl Abbas alayhi salam, he gives a very good, in his sermon, he makes a very good point about Baytullah. In that sermon, that very famous sermon that he gave on the 8th of Zul-Hijjah, what does he say? He says that this, he points to the Kaaba. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam is by the Kaaba, he's giving the sermon. And he says that this right here, he's pointing towards the Kaaba and he says that this was just what? A building of stone. And it became the Kaaba after his father came to it. He's pointing at Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. He's saying what? That this truly became the Kaaba after Amir al-Mu'mineen came into this Kaaba. Meaning what? Meaning that this Kaaba, before the arrival of Amir al-Mu'mineen, it was just like the body of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. It was just like the body of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. The angels were told to do sajda towards Adam alayhi salam after the soul was put into him. Abu al-Fazl Abbas alayhi salam is saying what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ordered the Kaaba to be this, or He had destined the Kaaba to be the sajda of all the Muslims after the soul of the Kaaba or Amir al-Mu'mineen came into the Kaaba. This is the reason. The Holy Prophet, when he says, Al-Yawm akmaltu lakum dinakum, when this verse was revealed, it was revealed after Ghadirakum. After the Holy Prophet gave that sermon. And it was perfected, the religion was perfected. Not just completed, no, perfected. There's a difference between completion and perfection. Something can be complete, but it's still imperfect in your eyes. It's still imperfect. And that's the same with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was perfected with the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And all of us sitting here, we should thank our parents for giving us this wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Why? Because the religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted from us is the Islam with the wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Without the wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the verse says what? If you interpret the verse and you look at the interpretations, that without the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, that means that the religion is incomplete. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa that means that the religion is incomplete. And this is why I say that, especially on the day of Ghadir, remember your parents. 2 rakat salat for thankfulness. There's a salat al-Ghadir also, but 2 rakat salat to thank your parents. Why? For giving you this wilayah. People don't understand how important this wilayah truly is. On the day of judgment, not the day of judgment, no. When our soul is coming out of our bodies, that's when people will, or the people that have the wilayat of Amir will understand how important this wilayah is. When they see the Ahlul Bayt in front of them, and the Ahlul Bayt are asking them, look, your family is crying for you. Your friends are crying for you. If you want, we'll pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'll send you back, no problem. But if you want, you can come with us. You can come with us. That's when this mu'min says, Ya Ali, I want to go with you. That's when this mu'mina says, Ya Fatima, I want to go with you. That's when this mu'min says, Ya Hussein, I want to go with you. That's when you and I will understand how important this wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen is. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He keeps us on this path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our ma'rifah in regards to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins, to forgive the sins of all the mu'mineen, mu'minat that are gathered here today, and to forgive the sins of all of those marhumeen, mu'mineen, mu'minat that do not have anyone to ask for forgiveness. And please, once again, recite a Surah Fatiha for your marhumeen and for all of those mu'mineen, mu'minat that do not have anyone to recite Surah Fatiha on their behalf. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم واسكنهم بجوار محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Do we have time for Q&A? 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 I think we have maybe a couple of minutes for Q&A, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. In the verse, Inna Allah la yahdi al-qawm al-kafirin, usually when the Muslims who are doing something wrong, be called a munafiq. So how are you coming to the conclusion that they're kafirin? Are there other verses in the Quran where this is a Muslim has been called a kuffar?
So the brother asked that this verse that Inna Allah la yahdi al-qawm, well, the end of Ayatul Baligh, Inna Allah la yahdi al-qawm al-kafirin, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the kafirin. How does this apply to Muslims? How does this apply, or how can you call a Muslim a kafir? You have to remember, what is the definition of a Muslim? I'll get to it from the Quran also, but what's the definition of a Muslim? If I was to say La ilaha illallah, am I a Muslim? I'm asking a question. If I was just to say La ilaha illallah, am I Muslim? No. If I was just to say Muhammad Rasulullah, am I Muslim? I become a Muslim when? When I say both of the shahadat together, correct? If I don't say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, I'm not a Muslim yet. Now, even people that have said La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, can they be kafirs? Yes, they can. If you pick up the tawzi, if you pick up the Islamic laws of any marja, and you go to Bab Najasa, it lists people that they consider to be najis. Kuffar is one of them. Kuffar is one of them. And they split kuffar into groups. They consider those that do ghulu, or they consider the ghalis who take Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Ahlul Bayt, to the status of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as kafir. At the same time, they take those individuals that have enmity towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the Khawarij, they consider them to be kafir. But those Khawarij, they also recite what? The same kalima of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. They recite that same kalima. But reciting the kalima is not enough. Reciting those two phrases is not enough. Meaning what? If I was to recite the kalima, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, but I wasn't to believe in the pillars of Islam, meaning if I wasn't to believe in salat, the ulama, they say that this person is a kafir. If I was to say La ilaha illallah, but not, and say that no, there's no such thing as prayer, there's no such thing as fasting. The ulama, not me, the ulama, they say that this person has become a kafir. Yet he still says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Okay? Would you call this person a Muslim? How? No, okay. This is a very good question, and a lot of people get confused about this. Okay. How does that apply to the Sunnis of today? Okay. Like I said in my lecture, it has to be put in front of them. It has to be made clear to them that the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, it is wajib the same way the Risalat of Rasulullah is. It has to be clear to them and put in front of them. A lot of people, a lot of Sunnis do not understand this. They don't know this. Yes, the ulama, that's a different story. The ulama, that is a completely different story. If you ask just a layman Sunni, a layman, if you ask a layman, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know about Ghadir. That means what? That means that they don't have the information. They don't have the information. So if they don't have the information, was it put in front of them? Can they accept it or reject it if they don't have? No, they can't. So it has to be made clear to them. And to be made clear to them in this day and age, it happens through what? It happens through debate. It happens through basically you using their sources to make it clear to them. After it's become clear and they still reject, then this last part of the verse will be applied to them. Once it's clear. But if it's still not clear, then no, you can't apply this to them. But the ones 1400 years ago, was it clear to them? It was clear to them. And then they still rejected. Hopefully that clears up that misconception. I know that they have. Yeah, he won't guide the kafirin. So this verse is already saying that once you tell them, whoever rejects it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers them to be kafir. So this verse starts off, Ya Rasul Balligh, meaning, oh my Prophet, tell them, or proclaim to them, right? He hasn't proclaimed it yet, but he's going to after this verse. So this verse is already telling the Holy Prophet that those people that don't, the people that reject it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide them. Yes.
You know, there are people that Alawi, they believe more in Ali than the Prophet. I would assume also they will be considered kafirun. Alawi, the one that they believe more in the Ali than, yeah. No, Alawi they call it. شو بتقولوا الحاج؟
هو عم بيستخدم
That's what I was trying to clarify. When it comes to the Alawiyun, if you're speaking about the Ghalis who consider Imam Ali alayhi salam to be God, they're considered to be Ghaliyun. There's some that exist in Syria. There's some exist that exist in Azerbaijan. Correct. You can't. Okay, I'll get to. So we have two questions. One is, what about the Ghaliyun? They're considered the Alawiyun. They're known as the Ghaliyun, the people that have exaggerated or taken Imam Ali alayhi salam at the status of Allah. So they've replaced Allah with Imam Ali alayhi salam. They're known as kafirin. There's no doubt that they're kuffar. Imam Ali alayhi salam, in his own time period, he punished people that said that. He punished people that considered him to be God. In his own lifetime, he punished people. Today, in this day and age, the ulama have already said those people that say that Imam Ali is God, that Imam Ali is Allah, they're kafirin. They're not considered or part Muslim. They're not considered to be Muslims. Now, to come to the auntie's question about what about those people that take Amir al-Mu'minin to be the fourth Khalifa, meaning that they accept the first three Khalifas and they take Amir al-Mu'minin to be the fourth Khalifa. This is what Ghadir Khum was about. Ghadir Khum was about Amir al-Mu'minin to be the Khalifa bila fasl, the Khalifa right after the Holy Prophet. That's what Ghadir was about. So if they're taking, or if they've taken Amir al-Mu'minin to be the fourth Khalifa and they don't know about Ghadir, then they will not come underneath this. But if they know about Ghadir, and still they take Abu Bakr or the first three Khalifas to be ahead of Amir al-Mu'minin, then they will be under this verse. They will be. On the Day of Judgment, they will have to answer. Any other questions? None?
Inshallah, let's take our hearts to Karbala and end with the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم جميعا السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين دعاء الحجة اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, if any of you brought any dishes, please, the leftovers are in the kitchen, so please take your bowls and if you brought any serving spoons with you, we're trying to clear it up, inshallah. And remember that this Sunday is the collaborative Eid al-Ghadir program at City of Knowledge in Pomona. We hope to see all of you there, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.